are you, sir? We'd just like to ask you about why you don't want to fly commercial. You said that it's like getting into a tube with a bunch of demons. Why do you think that?
The main reason is because of the need. If I flew commercial, I'd have to stop 65% of what I'm doing. That's really the main.
The simple act of faith. When you pray, believe that you receive them.
A private jet, a tax-free mansion the size of a small hotel, its own airport. That's not a Fortune 500 CEO. That's a preacher. Kenneth Copeland has been called the richest pastor on the planet, net worth north of $700 million. And for 50 years, he's built an empire on one promise: give to God, and God will give it back to you, multiplied. But behind the private jets and the healing crusades is a trail of Senate investigations, a Bible verse he applied to himself that shocked even his fellow evangelicals, and a financial crisis-era convention where a couple in debt handed over thousands of dollars for a jet. Today, we're going inside the rise, the riches, and the reckoning of Kenneth Copeland. Stick around. The ending involves a mark, a beast, and a pacemaker. The origin story. Every empire has an origin story, and Copeland starts with a broke college kid and a legendary mentor. When Kenneth Copeland couldn't afford tuition, he says God provided it, miraculously. That same year, he crossed paths with Oral Roberts, one of the godfathers of televised faith healing. Roberts needed a personal pilot. Copeland could fly. Deal made. For 9 months, Copeland lived a double life. College student by day, pilot to a famous evangelist by night. And in between, he was obsessed with the teachings of another man, Kenneth Hagin, the father of what's now called the Word of Faith movement. Copeland wanted Hagin's teaching tapes so badly, he once offered the title of his own car to get them. Hagin's family let him take the tapes on credit instead. That obsession became a spiritual bond. And in 1967, standing at the Arkansas River, Copeland says God called him into ministry, with one condition: never ask anyone for money, and never ask anyone for a stage. He wouldn't need to ask. By the end of that year, he and his wife Gloria had founded Kenneth Copeland Ministries. Within a decade, a magazine, a radio show on 500 stations, and by 1979, their own television broadcast. The tapes kept selling. The crowds kept growing. And so did the money. The empire. In 1979, Copeland bought a former Marine Corps air station outside Fort Worth for $4 million. On it, an 18,000-square-foot home, a church, a Bible college, TV studios, and runways. Copeland has his own airport. Here's the detail that raises eyebrows. That mansion is registered as a clergy residence. That classification reportedly gives it a full property tax exemption. A private compound, tax-free, because a preacher lives there. By the 2000s, Kenneth Copeland Ministries wasn't a church anymore. It was a media company. Books, CDs, DVDs, content translated into more than 20 languages, offices around the world. And by 2021, estimates put Copeland's personal net worth at $760 million. To followers, that wealth isn't a red flag, it's the proof. This is the core idea of the prosperity gospel. God rewards real faith with real money. Big house, nice car, private jet, all signs of divine favor. Critics see something else entirely. They call it a financial pipeline running one direction, up. The people funding the private jets, they argue, are often the ones who can least afford it. And in 1995, when Copeland filed for that property tax exemption, the numbers became public. His salary, just over $364,000 a year. Glorious, about $292,000. On top of that, $87,000 each in cash gifts, and nearly $1 million in board bonuses. Split-second gut check. Does that sound like a nonprofit or a company? In the Bible, God's name is famously rendered as I am. It's one of the most sacred phrases in Christian theology. During a broadcast on the Trinity Broadcasting Network, Copeland referenced that exact phrase and applied it to himself. The backlash was instant. Evangelical commentators accused him of blasphemy. Some went further, comparing his words to the pride that, according to Scripture, caused Lucifer's fall. Copeland later said publicly he'd welcome a meeting with his critics to talk it through. When the head of a leading Christian research organization actually tried to take him up on it, Copeland reportedly never responded. The meeting never happened. The questions never stopped. And then came the money question, the big one. The Senate comes knocking. In the 2000s, Senator Chuck Grassley launched a congressional investigation into a handful of televangelists. Copeland's ministry was on the list. What triggered it? Sermons that, according to investigators, pushed viewers to prove their faith through giving, tithes, offerings, seed money, with the promise of a 100-fold return. Give more, receive more, was the pitch. Grassley's team wanted the books. Specifically, was ministry money, donated, tax-exempt money, flowing into for-profit ventures connected to the Copeland family? Cattle, real estate, oil. That question was never fully answered for the public, because churches in the U.S. generally don't have to file the same financial disclosures as other nonprofits. The ministry maintains it followed the law. Copeland has repeatedly declined interviews with major outlets asking for more. Now here's the moment that, for a lot of people, defines this whole story. 2008 to 2010. The subprime mortgage crisis. Millions of Americans lose their homes. Nearly 3.8 million foreclosures over that stretch. The country is in freefall. In August 2009, right in the middle of it, Copeland holds a 5-day convention. 9,000 people show up. And according to reporting at the time, the message from the stage barely touches the recession. Instead, keep giving. Sow your seed. Reap your harvest. One couple travels in from Missouri. They're $12,000 in debt. During the event, they give $2,000 toward a jet for the ministry and $1,800 more for high-definition TV equipment. They called themselves ministry partners. They believed they'd get spiritual credit for every soul saved through Copeland's broadcasts because they'd helped fund it. That's the prosperity gospel working exactly as designed, at exactly the moment its followers could least afford it. When the teaching meets reality. Fast forward. 2018. Gloria Copeland tells the congregation she doesn't believe in flu season because true faith means you shouldn't get sick. Then COVID hits. Kenneth Copeland claims the vaccine is linked to the biblical mark of the beast and urges other ministers to dodge travel vaccine mandates. Meanwhile, he keeps flying private. In February 2021, fellow televangelist Frederick K.C. Price is hospitalized with COVID. Copeland posts that he doesn't believe it will take Price's life. 2 days later, Price dies at 89. Then in 2022, Copeland makes an admission that stuns even longtime followers. Gloria is still dealing with the effects of a traumatic brain injury from a car accident in 1966. And Kenneth himself has just had a pacemaker installed. For a ministry built entirely on the idea that real faith guarantees real health, that's not a footnote. That's the whole argument, cracking in public. And yet, the ministry isn't shrinking. It claims 100,000 members and partners today. In 2024, Copeland turned 88 and told his congregation he plans to keep preaching until he's somewhere between 100 and 120 years old. So here's the real question, and it's the one worth sitting with. Is this a story about faith or a story about power? About a man who genuinely believes God rewards him? Or a machine that's figured out exactly what to say to keep the donations coming, recession or not? Maybe it's both. Either way, the jet's still flying. If this kind of investigation is your thing, hit subscribe, drop your take in the comments. Do you think prosperity gospel is faith, or is it something else entirely? And we'll see you in the next one.